Oh my God, I was about to say CD. Hi everyone, Brittany here from Just Be Crafty. If you're new here, welcome, and if not, thank you so much for coming back. Today we're going to do another episode of What I'm Working On, where we talk about exactly what I'm working on. And it's been a little while since I've done one of these, so I'm super excited to get back on here and hang out with you and just chit chat about knitting and crocheting. Let's talk about knitting first. I have two finished objects for you today, and they're both pairs of socks. This first pair is a pair that, let me show you. They're kind of hard to see on camera. I have shared these before. The yarn used for these was yarn I dyed myself. And so I have the main part of the sock is made with kind of like a purpley blue, like a pink and blue blend of dyed yarn that kind of turns into a really pretty purple when you work it up. I think I talked about these before, so I'm not going to go into a ton of detail, but the construction for these, they were worked from top down, and which means that you start at the cuff. So the ribbon cuff, and then you work the ankle, and then the heel for this used a heel flap. So I made the heel flap in gusset, and then you work down the foot, and then you end with the toe. So that's how these were constructed. They're super fun. They fit really well. I made these, oh gosh, I finished these probably, I don't know. I finished these a while ago, and I don't think I ever shared them. It's probably been about a year since I finished them, and I've been wearing them ever since and really enjoying them. They have started to pill a little bit, but I think that's only because I've been washing them. I've been washing them in the washing machine and then drying them in the dryer, which they are superwash, 100% superwash merino wool, so you can do that. I don't highly suggest that, just because if you really want your knits to last, whether you're knitting with 100% superwash yarn or not, it's always best to probably just soak them into some wool wash, hand wash, and then let it air dry. But for these, I don't know. They've lasted me a year. They don't look too bad. If you can kind of look at those, they don't look too bad. They're just a little bit pilled. But the ease of throwing them in the wash and in the dryer, I mean, you can't beat that. But they're still really, really comfortable and fit really well. And then, so that's my first pair of socks. And then my next pair of socks are these. And these were from a pattern that I created myself, but I'm still working on perfecting them. They were knit up with a really pretty yarn. It's called, the dyer is Spun Right Round, and the color I believe is confetti. It's either cake pop, confetti, or birthday cake. It's something along the lines of that, some like party related title, but I will correct myself and put it on the screen just so we all know. But it was Spun Right Round was the yarn. This is also a top-down sock, so which means I started at the cuff and then worked a really nice long ankle that's worked in a 2x2 ribbing, and then I did a heel flap and gusset, and then went down into the foot, into the toe. And so for the foot, I worked the 2x2 ribbing on the top of the foot, and then on the bottom is just plain stockinette. So if you can see that, this made for an incredibly comfortable sock. So the point of this, I wanted something that was super cozy, super comfy, like picture yourself curled up on the couch with a book and some slouchy socks on, maybe a pair of leggings or sweats, just something super, super comfy. I thought that I would want maybe an oversized sock, but what I didn't take into account was the extra stretch that you get from the ribbing. So while I do love the ribbing in the leg, in the foot, it just ended up being a little too much. So I need to rework the pattern, making the foot a little bit smaller. And honestly, probably the leg could afford to be a little bit smaller too. That ended up being kind of big. And it's funny, so typically for socks, for like a plain pair of socks like this, I do a 64 stitch round. So I start with 64, and then you do your heel flap, and then you when you pick up stitches for your gusset, you have way more stitches on your needle than 64 stitches. So then you reduce back down to 64 to finish off the foot, and then you do your toe decreases. I think I did, how many did I add? I think I did a 68 stitch. So I only added 4 stitches, but it is funny how much of a difference those four stitches made. I did a 1x1 ribbing for the top of the cuff, and then I did a nice little detail so it not transfer, but what word am I looking for? So it transitions. That's the word I'm looking for. So that way it transitions from the 1x1 ribbing very smoothly into the 2x2 ribbing. So I did a little trick there. So I'm really excited to share this pattern with you, but I do want to get, I obviously need to get the right stitch count before I share that, and I want to do a video tutorial. But my favorite part of these is probably the extra long ankle. They're really cute. They're so comfy. For my pair, since they were too big, I decided that I would also wash these in the washing machine and then dry them in the dryer to shrink them, and it did help to shrink these up a bit. So now they fit better, but after I kind of wear them for a few hours, I do notice that the foot gets just a little bit too big. So I definitely do need to reduce the stitch count. But yeah, these are really fun to work up. They work up really fast. Yeah, I really enjoyed making them. I feel like there was something else I wanted to talk about with these socks, but I'm not remembering. But since I love these socks so much, I mean, I love these too, don't get me wrong, I love these too. But since I noticed that first pair started to pill a little bit, I really want these to last as long as they possibly can. So my plan for these was to always hand wash these, in a little basin with some wool wash or a light detergent, and then just let them lay flat to air dry. But yeah, putting them in the dryer really helps. And so those are my finished objects. I will say I am working on another pair of that same exact sock that I just showed you. And let me pull it out. I will show you. It's these. I'm using the blue. It's for my contrasting color. I'm using a blue that I dyed quite a while ago. And then I'm using a really pretty purple. I believe this is a Sorella yarn. I think it was an oopsie, so the color wasn't labeled. It's a really pretty color. It's kind of like a dark purpley pink blend, purpley burgundy blend. I started on these as soon literally the second I got my second sock off of the needle, I started on this. I was like, oh my gosh, I love this sock, and there's absolutely nothing I'm going to need to change about it. Well, I digress. But anyway, so I immediately started on this sock, and it's the same stitch count. So I know that the sock is going to be a little bit too big. And look how far I am. I'm not going to unravel it. I mean, I probably should. I've probably unraveled more like on a sweater or something before, but that's all right. I can live with a little bit of a too big of sock. But anyway, I'm going to have to make a third pair so that way I can get the sock to the right size. I did, however, reduce my stitches down to this count that I do believe that I need for the foot, but I think that it was still, because I didn't decrease until I picked up stitches for the gusset. So I think the heel might still be just a little bit too big. Go lay down, buddy. You might hear some noises from my dogs in the background. I'm situated in my family room right now, so you might hear my dogs relaxing. If you do hear that, my apologies. But anyway, so after picking up stitches for the gusset, I have now since decreased to the stitch count I think I need for the foot. I think the heel might still be too big. So I will report back and let you know, because I'm sure you're on the edge of your seat right now. And anyway, I don't know. Maybe you are. Maybe you're not. I don't know. I'm on the edge of my seat right now for these. I have tried them on and they do feel pretty good, but that's the thing. It's like once you kind of wear your socks for a little bit, they do tend to stretch. So it's kind of time will only tell until after I wear them for a little bit. But anyway, I don't know about you, but when I'm knitting and I love the color combination, or I'm getting ready to switch colors or something like that, it keeps me motivated to keep knitting or crocheting or whatever I'm working on, to either see the color change or to just see it like come to life. So this color combo really kept me excited the whole time. So my next whip is also a knitting project, and it is this sweater. This is the Alpine Glow sweater made by Andrew and Mary of Drea Renee Knits, and I started on this quite some time ago. And the funny thing is, I actually knit, I think, all of this. Just check it out, all of it, in probably about three weeks. I knit this all up in about 3 weeks. I think I started in September. It was probably shortly after this released. This was it's for that yarn festival, and I'm blanking at the name right now. Rhinebeck. It's for the Rhinebeck festival, the Rhinebeck yarn festival that they have every year in Rhinebeck, New York. And so I think this pattern was released. I did not go, by the way, but it was released, I think, it's September. And I'm sure all of you who are watching know, but I think that the festival is in early early October or somewhere around there. And so I wasn't planning on going or anything, but I just felt, as soon as she released the sweater, I fell in love with it. But anyway, I made seriously all of the sweater probably in about 3 or 4 weeks. And at this point, I have like 1 inch left to go for the collar. I don't know what my motivation is. Sometimes I really want to wear this sweater, but I don't know where the motivation for it went. This sweater is really pretty, and actually looking at it now is kind of giving me the motivation that I need to complete it. So this was really, really fun to work up. It's worked from the top down. It's a yoke sweater. Start at the top, you work the yoke in the round, and then once you get to the point where it's time to start making the sleeves, you split your stitches for the sleeves. So you split out your yoke into 2 sleeves and then the body. And then I believe I worked the rest of the body down to the ribbing, bound off, and then I worked each sleeve separately. And I love the detail on the sleeves. So it ends with, you work the sleeve and then it ends with this really pretty zigzag detail that's worked in mohair, and then you transition into a zigzag into this contrasting gold color. It's so pretty, or like kind of like a mustard color. I think that's similar to what she picked, and then which also is what the top looked like. You may ask, well, if it was worked top down, then why are you still working on the collar? Well, so we pick up the stitches for the collar at the very end. So you basically start right here, kind of like see the ribbing on the collar, and there's kind of a ridge there. That's where I picked up stitches for the collar. So you start basically with this kind of going into that zigzag. That's where it started, and then you worked it from the top down, and then at the very end you pick up stitches for the collar. And it's going to be a really cute mock neck, so which is kind of like a turtleneck, but only it's not like a real long turtleneck that you fold down and wear. You knit about 4 inches of this ribbing, and then I will fold it over and sew it down, so it'll kind of always be like a little sticking up collar, which is called a mock neck. You probably already knew that, but anyway, that is how it's done. So looking at this is really making me want to finish it. So I need to set a deadline for myself, and I'm thinking maybe not this Friday. So this is releasing on a Friday, but I'm gonna give myself a week to finish the collar, sew it down, weave in all of my ends, and block it. And hopefully maybe in one of my next talking head videos, I'll be wearing this. Anyway, this is a really fun project. I'll be sure to have it linked below if you're interested in making this, but it worked up super fast. I did, however, I didn't use the recommended yarn for it, which was a beautiful yarn. I used Knit Picks Wool of the Andes, I believe, and it was a sport weight yarn, sport or DK weight yarn. So it works up really, really fast. Like I said, I was able to get basically all of this done in about 3 or 4 weeks time. I did, spend a pretty good amount of time working on it, but still, it still worked up super fast. All right, so anyway, that is this sweater. Moving in to a couple other finished objects, which are the latest pattern releases. First off is these dishcloths. I don't think I talked about these before on video, so that's why I'm sharing them today. These were released, I released this pattern, I'm not quite sure, a few months ago. It's been a while. They've been live on the free pattern's been live on my blog. The PDF has been live on Etsy for a few months now, but I hadn't got on here and talked about them, and I don't have a video tutorial for them, just the written pattern, but they're super easy to work up. But anyway, they're really fun to work up, and it's worked up with the combination single crochet and double crochet stitch to give this really like pretty texture. And then when you do the border around, you kind of split your color so that way the border isn't all one color. So like the top of the part of the border is this pretty purple, and then it transitions into the cream color. And one of my favorite features about this dishcloth is that you can hang it. I don't know about you, but one of my biggest pet peeves is when the dishcloth is like laying in the bottom of the sink and there's like dishes in there, or the sink is just wet. Maybe your sink has no dishes in it and it's just kind of wet, and like the wet dishcloth that's not wrung out, it's just saturated with water just laying in the sink. That drives me nuts. It is one of my biggest pet peeves. I hate that. And then it gets sour and all yucky. This kind of alleviates that problem. Anything with like a little hook hole. So when you wash your dishes or clean your table or whatever you do, you can rinse this out with some soap, kind of rinse it out with some soapy water, and then let it hang on a hook to finish air drying, and then you don't have a yucky dishcloth anymore. So it can kind of make it last a little bit longer between washings. I mean, you still obviously want to wash them regularly, but maybe, you know, you don't have to change it at the end of the day. Maybe you can go an extra day or two or whatever between your washings. So these are, I believe I called them, I don't remember what I called them. I think I just called them crochet texture dishcloth with loop or crochet dishcloth with loop. Something super simple. As I'm flinging around all of my knitting and crochet projects, the fibers of all the yarn is kind of just flying around through the air, and it's like getting behind my glasses, tickling my face. But anyway, as always, I will have the links to the free pattern as well as the digital PDF file that you can print and put into a binder if you like. I'll have both of those options linked below, so you can check those out if you're interested. The next pattern release I had, this was from February, this past month, and that is these Crochet Checkered. I'll show you. They're crochet checkered triangle hair scarves. So basically you just, and then you kind of just like tie it behind your head. I'm not going to completely put it on, but it's super cute. These were super popular, like probably in the 70s, I think maybe 60s or 70s. And then they, you know, made a resurgence back in like the early 2000s when I was like a middle schooler entering high school. They're really fun. When I was a kid, they weren't crochet. They were fabric ones. Ones in the 70s, they probably were crocheted actually. But this is just a really fun pattern. It utilizes the C2C or corner to corner crochet stitch. You basically just work the C2C stitch until you get a certain number of rows completed, and then you do a nice border, you add these straps on, and then weave in your ends and you're good to go. One thing that is important with this, you want to make sure that you steam block these because they can tend to be a little stiff, and you don't want it super stiff in your hair. And I'll link the steamer that I use that I love. I use for my regular clothes as well as my crochet projects. Let me edit that. It's for crochet projects that I use acrylic yarn, or knitted projects that I use acrylic yarn only for. I would never use a steamer on wool. I don't know, maybe you can. I have no idea. I am so terrified of felting my stuff that I probably wouldn't do it unless I did some extra research on it. I only apply heat, like steam heat, to my acrylic projects, and this is made with an acrylic yarn. So keep that in mind. But anyway, these were kind of stiff when I was done with them, and just pinning these out on blocking boards to the measurements listed in the pattern and then applying a nice steam to them really helped to loosen these up. So I highly recommend it. But anyway, I'll have that steamer linked below so you can check that out if you're interested. This was a super fun pattern. I made a complete step-by-step video tutorial. You can of course find the free pattern on my blog, and then the printable version digital PDF file in my Etsy shop. The next pattern release, this was released last week, and it's actually a set. It's my crochet granny stitch desk set. It is a desk mat. So this is the desk mat, a coaster, and a pencil cup cozy. So all of these projects utilize the granny stitch. The coaster is made up of a granny square. The desk mat is made up of granny stitch, which is basically it's a stripe of granny stitch. So it's worked back and forth in rows, whereas a granny square is worked in the round. And then this is granny stripe stitch, but granny stripe stitch worked in the round. So let me take this out and I'll kind of show you how it's constructed. So I started with a flat circle, and then attached to the flat circle, then I started working in granny stripe in the round, basically until I got to the height of my pencil cup. And then all 3 projects have this really pretty scalloped edge detail. And while all the scalloped edges are different colors, it makes one cohesive set because all 3 of the items are made up with this, you know, with 4 colors. I've just kind of did I change the color order? I don't know. No, you know what? No, I actually did the same color order for both of these, and then I did a completely different color order for this. But as long as you're, you know, you just pick out 4 of your favorite worsted weight acrylic yarn colors. I picked aqua, gold, purple, and pink for my 4 colors. I don't know, it just made a really, really fun set. So I actually made this set 2 years ago, and I've been using it on my desk ever since. I just hadn't gotten around to writing up the patterns until now. So I'm really, really excited to share that with you. And I will pop in some pictures so you can see the desk set in action on my desk. And yeah, it's a fun set. You could probably whip up the whole thing in an afternoon, really. It's a really quick project. It's an awesome stash buster. One thing I do want to mention about the desk mat, the yarn fibers are flying everywhere and it's itching me and it's sticking in my lip gloss. Anyway, for the desk mat, one thing I do want to mention, it does work without a mouse pad. You can use a mouse on top of this, but I highly suggest using a mouse pad. This is mine. Did it focus? Hopefully. Okay, anyway, this is a mouse pad that I got off of Amazon, and it's just kind of coordinating colors. You can see there's pink, purple, and aqua, and then in some of the flowers you can see kind of like a little bit of gold and a few of the yellow flowers. So I think it does complement this nicely. It's not a perfect match, but I like how they look together. But anyway, I'll link this one below if you're interested in checking this one out, or hopefully they have something similar if I can't find my exact one. But if you're interested in checking that out, I'll have that linked below. And so this is just like a close-up of the cozy. And basically you just find, and I'll take these out. I'll take those out. This is the pencil cup that I used. It was just something that I bought, I think from the dollar spot at Target. I'm sure you can find these at the dollar store on Amazon. You could also definitely use a used, like cleaned out soup cup. That would work really, really well. Yeah, so you could totally use a soup cup, a pencil cup, whatever. It's that's similar to the measurements that I list in the pattern. Just take your pencil cup and you slide the cozy on. And it's really cute. It looks really cute sitting on the desk. And then, you know, you put in your crochet hooks or your pens or whatever it is you want to organize, and then you just set this on your desk. This was a super fun project to make and do, and it's just, I've been using it for 2 years. So if you try it, give this video a thumbs up and let me know in the comments below if you try it, if you're planning to try it. Yeah, I'd love to hear it. It's so fun to, even if your office space is at home like mine, or maybe you go into the office, whatever, it's nice to give your space a personal touch. And I just think that this is it's fun. It's fun. Anyway, I hope you enjoy the pattern. Once again, I probably don't need to mention, you can find the complete set, all of the 3 of these patterns for free on my blog. And then I also have a bundle of all 3 in a PDF digital file that you can purchase from Etsy if you prefer to go that route. Those are the pattern releases that I've had recently. And then next, I want to move into a couple projects I have coming up. So first I want to talk about this one. So this is a pink scarf. It's called the bubblegum scarf. And if you follow me over on Instagram, you've already seen kind of a glimpse of this. And if you're not, make sure you're following over there, because I do share a lot of stuff over on Instagram, a lot of behind the scenes. I kind of share, you know, different stuff that I'm working on. Come hang out with me over there. Come say hello. But I did share about this a little bit on Instagram. But anyway, it's a pink scarf. Oh my gosh, I feel like I have fuzzes all over the place in my hair, and I don't know if the camera's picking up on any of those fuzzes flying through the air right now, but it is like giving me a sore throat. Anyway, this scarf is super fun and it's super beginner friendly. So that is actually the reason why I am making this scarf. I am working on, and you're hearing it first right here, I am working on a complete beginner crochet course. So it's going to take you from not knowing anything about crochet, not having any materials, nothing at all, to making 3 or 4 different projects. This is going to be one of them. I'm really, really excited to share that. It's going to be 100% free, hosted on my blog. Anyone can do it. So maybe you already know how to crochet, but maybe you have a friend who has been wanting to learn, or they didn't know where to start. Direct them to this. I think that this is going to be super helpful for anyone wanting to learn to crochet. Maybe you already know how to crochet. Maybe you're an avid crocheter. Sometimes it's fun to just go through these types of courses to kind of refresh yourself. Maybe you pick up something you didn't know before. It's going to be a self-paced course. You got your own pace. There's no deadlines or anything like that. I don't have a release date for that yet. I'm pretty far along in creating it on my blog. Most of it's already there. It's just not live yet. As soon as I have a release date for this course, I will let you know on here. So make sure that you are subscribed to this channel so that way you can be in the know for when the course is released. If you want to make sure you're completely in the know, subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can subscribe to my email list, and you can follow along on Instagram. Those are the 3 places that I will be notifying you for this course. So if you're at least following along at one of those places, you will for sure be one of the first people to know about the course. So I'm really, really excited to share that with you guys. Just know that is coming. So a little bit about this scarf. It is just basically made with double crochet. So by the time you are done making this, you will be an expert at double crochet. The best way to learn is by repetition, right? And so what better way to use like repetition in a crochet project than to make yourself something that you can actually wear, like a scarf. This is the bubblegum scarf. And I do want to say, this is not by any means just for beginners. This is an awesome project for seasoned crocheters as well. Maybe you just need to move your hands and zone out, and you need that rhythmic motion of crocheting. This is exactly that. Maybe you just kind of want to listen to a new oh my god, I was about to say CD. A new like album, or I don't know. I have a record player. Or however you listen to music, MP3s or, oh my god, no. I don't know, Spotify, maybe Pandora, I don't know. However the heck you listen to music, you can crochet up the scarf without even thinking about it. Maybe there's a show you've been wanting to watch and you want to pay attention to it more than your project. Maybe you are trying to meditate. This is definitely that. So this is by all means not just for beginners. It's for any level of crocheter, but it kind of just also depends on, I don't know, the vibe that you're going for in that moment or what you are looking for in that specific project. So anyway, that is the bubblegum scarf, and keep your eyes peeled for announcements on the new crochet course. The next and final thing I have to share with you today is another scarf project that I'm working on that has been really, really fun to make, and that is this. I don't have a name for it yet, but it is worked up with just like your standard 100% worsted weight acrylic yarn that you can find at any craft store. What makes this one a little bit unique, at least for me, is that I'm using all neon colors. So I never usually use neon colors ever. I never use neon colors. Usually my palettes kind of fall within like the same like aqua and pink, kind of the colors I have on my blog if you've noticed, but it's like pink, gold, aqua, and yeah, I think that's it. I don't know, kind of in there, maybe mix in some purples, but this I am using neon bright colors. So this has been really, really fun to work on, and kind of going back to what we talked about earlier, where color changes is really what keeps me excited and keeps me moving forward in different projects, because you just like want to get to the next color, the next step. You want to see it come together. That's what really excites me for projects. So this has been really fun for me to make for that reason. This one is worked up in Tunisian crochet, which Tunisian crochet, if you haven't heard of it, is a mixture of, it's kind of a combination of knitting and crocheting all in one. So it's a really interesting technique, and it makes a really interesting stitch. Let me kind of give you a close-up. It gives you a really interesting textured stitch. So this is just called the simple stitch. It's a combination of knitting and crocheting. That's how, but you do use it, you do it with one hand, which is funny because I learned to knit before I learned to crochet. And I will tell you, I have been crocheting for a decade. So crocheting is not anywhere near new to me. So I am used to using one hook. But I will say I learned to knit first, so I'm used to kind of using both of my hands to knit. And so because this is kind of a combination of knitting and crocheting, I feel like I have a hard time just using one hand. And kind of the motion you're going through is this. And I do use my other hand to wrap, to do my like yarn overs to help, but it's like I want to be using my left hand more than what I am. Through this motion that you kind of do, or at least that I do when I Tunisian crochet, I do notice I get a little bit of stiffness in my wrist, which I don't typically get from knitting or crocheting. I'm very blessed, at least like knock on wood. My dogs thought someone was here. No one's here. It is interesting though. Tunisian crochet works up super fast, and I'm not done with it yet, but I was able to work this up in a relatively short amount of time, which is really nice. It works up really fast, but I do notice and even though most of the motion is with my right hand, I don't know, I feel like it's my left hand that's kind of bothering me, my left wrist that's bothering me the most. I thought that was interesting. I don't know if that happens to you. Maybe you have some tips on to alleviate that. If you do, I'd love to hear in the comments below. So let me know. But anyway, this has been a really fun project. I'm planning to release this pattern next Friday, and I'm planning to have a complete video tutorial on how to do it. I do also have another Tunisian crochet project. I made this a while ago, and it was a dishcloth. If you're interested in looking at that, I'll have that pattern linked in the description box below so you can check that out. But anyway, so that is what has been in the works over here on Just Be Crafty lately. I hope you found this video fun and entertaining. I hope you were able to maybe get in a couple crochet or knit stitches, maybe sip on a cup of tea or a cup of coffee, or maybe a Coca-Cola. I don't know, whatever your preferred drink of choice is. And I hope you were able to just relax for a little bit, just have some fun and chat, knit, and crochet. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Have a good one. Bye.